Hello, guys. So, for my OB interview, I talked to Stuart Fishbein, who is an obstetrician down in California. Um, the reason I picked him versus someone more local to me was because his his views on birth are very different from traditional OBs. So he actually is an obstetrician that practices home births, and he supports midwives doing home births. And so he has a podcast. I'll put the link to that below. But yeah, so I talked to him, and I asked him why he got into obstetrician, and he said that during his residency, he did a rotation on the cancer patients and children, and it was just really sad. And so his next rotation was obstetrician, and it was a lot happier. It was much happier job to be in. And he said he gets to do a bunch of everything, like psychology, internal medicine, surgery, and it's very longitudinal care. He was emphasized that you get to take care of the person generally like over a long period of time. So he said that whenever he got out of residency, he was very mechanical. He thought he knew everything about pregnancy. He thought that pregnancy was an illness and that it was something to be treated. He supported midwives because of money in the beginning, that it was just extra money for his pocket to take the transfers. He doesn't think that there are many happy obstetricians, and a busy month for him looks like about 16 to 17 births. So he did that in January, 16 to 17 births. He mentioned that he's not restricted by the same laws in California that midwives are restricted by. So he's able to do twins. He's able to do breech births. He's able to do vacuum assisted births, whatever he needs to do. Just in January, he did 4 breech births. He, I guess he helped with 1 unassisted, and he had 3 vacuum assists, and he even delivered a baby before 37 weeks. Yeah, that was interesting. So let's see. He does not think the ACOG is a conspiracy. Doctors have transitioned from being private practice to being employees. So like Kaiser is a really big hospital, and he's saying that Kaiser, or the hospital, is in charge of him, or the obstetrician, right? So the obstetrician may have really good intentions, but that doesn't matter, because if it's the hospital's policy that they induce at 41 weeks, even though the obstetrician wants to wait, he either lets the person wait until 41 and 4 days, or he's going to be getting a phone call to come into the office to talk to him or her about going against hospital policies. And so 80% of obstetricians now work for institutions versus the 20% that work for private practice. So if you're an obstetrician in private practice, you can do whatever you want. So I would say if you are looking for an obstetrician, then look for one that is in a private practice, because they will be able to practice the way that hopefully is more birthing person friendly. All right, so he does not like the American Medical Association. He thinks that it's more of a political lobbying group, and not an advocate for patients or doctors. So he said that most doctors now don't consider themselves shepherds. They come in with good intentions, but medical school and residency pounds it out of them. So that definitely resonated with Birth in the USA, of what it was talking about with medical school. And so we talked a little bit about neural binding, and he talked about premature cognitive commitments, and essentially how if you see something that, is traumatizing to you, that's how you're always going to see it. And we talked about that a little bit in the midwifery class. Whenever new doctors come in out of school, they see, a breech birth, and it's traumatic, and they think, I'm never going to do that again. And I thought it was interesting because I had the same experience. I don't know, maybe it was with my first pregnancy. I was watching a lot of birth videos, and I watched a breech birth, and this woman was screaming, and it just was a very traumatic video to watch. And I told myself, I said, man, if I ever have a breech baby, I am not going to birth that. I will definitely opt for a C-section, because of how traumatizing that video was to me. And thankfully I've overcome that, and I've learned a lot more. But I'm done having babies, so I won't have that option to have a breech birth. And okay, so we talked about how everything done in the hospitals is just unnatural to how labors happen for every other mammal. How we're not going to go with our cat and watch it and move it around and like try to help the baby come out or give it some oxytocin, or, I mean, you do, you try to help her, I guess, if she was struggling. But most mammals know how to birth their babies. Okay. So he talked about how there's a hierarchy in the hospital, and like anesthesia is up here above the OBs. He's like, the OBs have to listen to what the anesthesiologist, how they want to do their job. And then it's just a hierarchy system, and we've talked about that. So he talked about how pediatricians used to not come into the hospital before. So pediatricians have to visit the baby before the parents and the baby can check out. And he said that didn't happen in like the 50s and 60s, but pediatricians found a way to charge for it. So like they're going to get a $300 fee just for coming to check on this baby. But then it ended up biting them in the back because the insurance companies lowered the fee. It's like $30 or something now. And so that policy is still in place. So if the parents want to go home with their baby, they can't, they got to wait for the pediatrician to come and check on the baby. And then, the pediatrician can't come until in the evening. So then the hospital gets to charge for another day. And it's just this cycle. So we talked about Augustine Colebrook and how she has some big ideas to change things in America. Because I asked him, what is the next big step that we need to take to make big changes in America? And so Augustine Colebrook talked about raking the silos and making healthcare more like the UK. So after med school and after our midwifery school, to have kind of a collaborative setting where we all are able to work together in that setting and just immerse ourselves in the other person's, skill set, I guess, or practice. So it would really be helpful for OBs to see that midwives are not just, chanting like, "Oh la 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 la," over these women or people and making the baby come out and then, like stuffing some herbs up there or something. So she also talked about, Augustine Colebrook talked about changing the term from home birthing to community-based birthing. And they talked about whenever home births get to 3%, it will be considered a norm. And so once it's a norm, it will have to be included in those mainstream conversations and in political conversations and insurance, everything. So we really just have to push to make home birth more of a norm. So yeah, I really just wanted to talk to him because he has one foot in the door of being an obstetrician and one foot in the door of being like a home birth practitioner who practices the midwifery model of care. It was a really, really good conversation. And yeah, I'd highly recommend looking at his podcast. He does it with another midwife, and they're great and very informative. And yeah, so that was my conversation. I really enjoyed it. I liked that I came away that, yeah, all OBs aren't bad. They're not bad on purpose. It's just their system that they're put into and what they've seen in person because of the system that they're put into. It's just the system. The system is messed up, guys. Like, it's so messed up, and we have to change it. All right. Bye.